Hello everybody, I'm Justin. I'm here with Mr. Daniel Jansky from the Reader/Learner on Facebook. Today we're going to be talking about five awesome study Bibles and Bibles that Christians can use to better understand things like translations and the translation process and the history of biblical context and things like that. So first, I want to ask you a couple questions, so the viewers can know a little bit more about you and your Facebook page and your YouTube channel. I think you've got a couple videos up right now going through several different types of Bibles and different ones. And
yeah, what I'm doing right now is called the Bible Bookshelf. I have around 10 shelves of Bibles that I collect. I have over 100 physical ones on the bookshelves. I own around 200 English translations, most of which I am familiar with. So yeah, that's the series so far on YouTube is Bible Bookshelf, and I think I have 3 episodes done so far. So yeah.
Right on. And you've got the Reader/Learner on Facebook.
Yeah, that's what that started is I read a lot and I have random thoughts that I post, and I usually post it just on my personal Facebook page, but I had to say some trolls were getting on, and I didn't really like that, so I created a separate one where I can post things and people can share it, because with the settings I have on my personal Facebook page, you're unable to share it. So the Reader Learner is just the same thing that you would see on my my personal Facebook page if you were my friend, but it's just an easier, more public media.
Because you gotta watch out for them trolls.
Because trolls are out there.
Alright, so tell me a little bit about what first got you started in collecting Bibles and different translations and things.
I don't remember why I first started. I remember the first Bible I ever received was when I was 9. My parents were members of a Baptist church, and as part of the Sunday school they gave me an NIV Bible, 1984 edition. So that was the first Bible I ever had, and it was too hard for me to understand back then, so then I got a Living Bible, which I then read, but I didn't really get into reading the Bible until my mother bought me a contemporary English version New Testament, which I read through. I read the whole New Testament through before I became saved, and I started collecting Bibles before I was saved. I was saved at the age of 14. But especially after I became saved, I started collecting a lot. Usually, I average it out. Usually I buy around a Bible a week, probably a Bible and a half a week, because I usually buy between one or 2 Bibles a week. So yeah, so I own quite a bit now. It's hard to find room sometimes.
I can only imagine. Alright, so talk a little bit about what we'll have today. One of the Bibles that will be featured in the video today is the 1599 Geneva Bible. We'll also have the Net Bible. We'll be looking at the Chronological Study Bible. This one's New King James, but they've also got other translations for this Chronological Study Bible. The Apostolic Bible Polyglot, which is an interlinear.
Yeah, I just want to say right offhand, by apostolic, we'll get into that later when we review this, but apostolic, they don't mean one is Pentecostal, which is often associated with apostolic. What they mean by apostolic is early church. So we'll get into that later, just throwing that disclaimer out.
And the comprehensive New Testament. Alright, so starting off with the 1599 Geneva Bible.
Yeah, well, the Geneva Bible was originally published in 1560. This is the 1599 reprint So it's not a facsimile. They have a modern typeset in it. It's done by Tollage Press. The reason why they have the 1599 edition is that over time, from 1560 to 1599, they added more notes to this Bible as time went on. So not all the notes are original with the Reformers. If you get the 1560, which I believe is only available as a facsimile, have just the original Reformers. But these are most of the Reformers' notes, and then also some later editions. The only thing I don't like about the commentary in this particular edition of the Geneva Bible is the Book of Revelation. They translated from a Latin commentary into English by one man. So the commentary I'm not a big fan on in Revelation in this edition of the Geneva Bible. But the notes on Revelation in the original Geneva Bible I prefer. So what do you have any questions about this particular one?
Well, you said that the biggest difference between this one and the 1560 is the notes.
Yeah, that's correct. There are a few different translation issues as well. They did revise part of the translation, and the biggest difference between this translation and the 1560 is that they add the word "that" there instead of "the." I'll show you, for example, in the book of John. Alright, we all know John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This edition of the Geneva Bible says, in the beginning was that Word, and that Word was with God, and that Word was God. So they add that in there instead of the. The reason why they do that is that the Greek behind the they thought, at that time when this was made, they thought it was a little bit more forceful and emphatic than just the. And in Greek there's 24 different words for the. So they thought that it was a little bit more emphatic than our English word "the." So they tried to make it a little bit more pointed by doing that. But it's really kind of awkward when that has it that many times. But otherwise, the translation is mostly the same.
Mm-hmm. Now this one's from Tollage Press, and it has the confession, a confession in the back, and it has the prayers in the back.
Yeah.
And are those found in the other editions, or is it just in this Tollage Press?
No, those were actually part of the original 1599 Bible that they copied from. Those are all original, but they added in things over time, like they added a Psalter in some of the Geneva Bibles, different appendixes. So it changed from Geneva Bible to the Geneva Bible. And the Geneva Bible was persecuted. It was hated by the state for the first 40 to 80 years from its existence. So what you would often find is the title page would say it's the King James, but it was actually the Geneva Bible text, because the King James didn't have commentary when it was first printed, but the people loved the commentary of the Geneva Bible. So it would often have the title page of the King James, but it would be the Geneva Bible text. The last Geneva Bible that was printed was in 1644, so around 30 years after the King James, it was still being printed.
That would be an interesting find, to have one of those King James cover pages.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Alright, so let's go on to the...
well, just a few reasons why I like this particular Bible is Justin and I are both Reformed, but you don't even have to be Reformed to enjoy this Bible. I know a lot of people who love cultural heritage from the time of the Reformation. For example, I have some Anabaptist friends who love this Bible, even though there's some particularly strongly worded footnotes against the Anabaptists in this Bible. Overall, the theology is sound to the point where even if you don't identify as Reformed, you would still enjoy the theology in here. They have an article in the beginning saying how we tend to think that the theology within this, it says here in the preface that some of the footnotes might seem very basic. We got to understand the time period when this was printed. This is the world's first study Bible that they had seen in English. Tyndale, Coverdale, they had some footnotes in their Bible, but not in every verse. Like this has it on almost every verse. So the people were ignorant of the context and the interpretation of the Bible up until this time, and they so the footnotes in here are very foundational and informative. So.
Right on. This is the Net Bible.
Yeah, this was published as a joint effort. It was put forth by Dallas Theological Seminary, but wasn't translated by them. What it was an internet project whereby people could go online and give feedback on to why they think a verse should be translated this way, and everyone would look at it. So not if you put a recommendation in on a way a verse would be translated, it didn't guarantee that's what it would be, but it gave discussion. So this is probably the most what they call reviewed or peer-reviewed translation available. I don't think they know how many people actually contributed to it. They have their main editors, but a lot of people worked on this. And what this is famous for, as you can see, is the amount of notes that this Bible contains. And these aren't doctrinal notes. These are all notes about the Hebrew and Greek and how English fits into that. As you can see, this much is text, this much is footnotes. And that's quite normal throughout this Bible. And these notes go into, this is what Hebrew and Greek literally means, this is an idiom, this is the context, this is how this Hebrew word is used elsewhere, and it gives you all the different possible ways, how it could be translated, why they chose what they did, and so it justifies, or at least it tries to justify every choice that they make in the translation process. Now obviously they have to make a choice. Sometimes we don't know. When, for example, when Paul wrote that the love of Christ constrains us, we don't know in Greek if he's referring to the love Christ has for us or the love we have for Christ. It's ambiguous. So we don't know. But you have to make choices similar to that when you translate into English or any other language, and so they try to justify why they chose what they did. So if you want to peer back behind the translation process, this is the Bible to use. It's recommended and used across denominational lines. So it's not a particular group of people, even though the Dallas Theological Seminary were the ones that put this together in the format that it is. It's not a Dallas Theological Baptist translation. So the notes are widely upheld, like I said, by scholars worldwide. The translation itself is very good. It's a little bit more dynamic than, say, the ESV, the King James. So if you're not used to dynamic translations, it might throw you off a little bit. But like I said, it covers everything behind what the literal is in the footnotes. I actually enjoyed the translation. I think there's some parts in it where it translates right where not a lot of translations do, and they give the reasons why, and I agree with them. But yeah, this is this is the highest quality binding that you can get it in. They don't make it in genuine leather. This is the bonded leather, but you can get it in hardcover as well. You can get this off of Amazon or Bible.org. You can actually download the whole thing for free, searchable with the footnotes and everything from their website, which is Bible.org. So, yeah, that's this one. The Net Bible stands for New English Translation.
All right, next we have the New King James Chronological Study Bible, which has been my daily reader since I've got it. I really enjoyed this one. Not just because of the chronological order, but the notes are very informative, and it looks cool on the outside. That's really nice pillar, and on the inside it's got really nice colors It's really eye-catching.
Yeah, it's chronological, so don't use this as it's not a Bible you take to church to read through or look up a passage. It's for sitting at home working through it one day at a time, like Justin mentioned. Up here, as you can see, they have the approximate dates that the passage the events happened. Now, of course, they have to make some choices. We're not sure on exactly when some things happened, but by and large, I agree with them. They have this also available in the NIV. This is the New King James Edition, but it has sidebars, information about almost every culture that is mentioned. The reason why I recommend this is I think understanding the culture of the Bible and how they would have understood it and when it was written is vitally important to understanding the Bible. Because the Bible, while it applies to us today, it wasn't written to 21st century Americans. It just wasn't. And so if we separate ourselves from that understanding, then it's an open road to taking verses out of context and abusing the text of Scripture. The other Bible that I would recommend in the same category would be the Archaeological Study Bible, which is available in the NIV and the King James. I had to pick one for the video, so I chose this one simply because it has an added factor of being chronological, which is a plus for understanding that. But the Archaeological Study Bible is also an excellent resource.
Awesome. This one is probably the prettiest one in the bunch. I think it looks the nicest. The Apostolic Bible Polyglot. I had to look up that word when I first got it, and then it just means in several languages.
Yeah.
Polyglot.
So this is interlinear, but it's all Greek. The Old Testament is the Septuagint, and the New Testament is the Byzantine text. It's not the Textus Receptus. It's not the majority text. It's the Byzantine text, and a lot of people unfortunately get those text streams confused with one another. But the Byzantine text is what the Greek Orthodox copy throughout time. It's the text they use in the liturgy. The majority text and the Textus Receptus are different, but this is the Byzantine text, and so this doesn't have any footnotes. Just it has some textual footnotes. Maybe one Septuagint will have a little bit different wording because there's not just one edition of the Septuagint. The Septuagint comes in several different editions, which they have to compare as they do with any manuscript. Even later Bibles, such as the Latin Vulgate, have multiple readings at different areas. But this is, let's see if you can get a close-up here. Hopefully if you can see what I'm seeing. Is it available? Can you see it?
I think we're good.
Alright, so what it has is it has the English and it has a number. Now this is a Strong's number, and it has a Strong's dictionary in the back. And it also has Strong's numbers and definitions for words that are only found in the Septuagint as well. So you can look up a word that isn't even in the New Testament, but it's in the Septuagint. You can find out what it means. And then it has the English word. And let me see if I can find an example here. Here's an example. Can you see this bracket here?
I think so.
Alright, so what this is, it is the Greek doesn't have it in the same grammar or word order that we would in English. So to understand it, if the Greek has it in different order than we would normally use, it puts brackets and then it has numbers above each English word. And that is the order you would read it in English. So like this would be, shall be punished unto death is how you would read it in English. So when you're reading and you come across a bracket, you can back up and read each word as it's numbered in English for it to make sense in English. In the back, you look up the number of the word and it gives you the Greek word, and it has all the references in the Septuagint and the New Testament. So it's a Greek concordance and a dictionary at the same time. I'll have the definition down below. So it has a Greek concordance, it has a Greek dictionary, and this is the Septuagint and the Byzantine text. That's why it's called the Apostolic Bible, because this would be the text that the early church fathers, before they switched to writing in Latin, this would be the Bible that they would be most familiar with. They didn't. Most of the early church fathers didn't know Hebrew. They used the Septuagint, so that's why the name for this. This last one is called the Comprehensive New Testament, and what this is, if you get into any discussions about textual variants, which it seems almost everyone is these days, and there's hot debates on either side with you, like majority text, Byzantine text, critical text, Nestle Aland, the Papyri, codexes, and all that. Well, what this will have is the translation above here is its own translation. It's not it's its own translation, so it's not based on any other English translation. The translation up here follows the Nestle Aland 27th edition to the letter. So this follows the Nestle Aland 27 in all of its variant choices. However, it lists every known variant down below, and if it has Alexandrian, it'll list it if it's Byzantine. It'll list it if it's a minority. It'll list specific manuscripts. It will list changes or differences between, even if it's found in the Latin Vulgate, if it's found in the Aramaic Peshitta. And so this will list all the variants. As you can see, even a little section of scripture, it has a lot of variants. The people that put this together, they have a saying which I like. It is that most people, when it comes to textual variants, are misinformed. There's a lot more textual variants than people think, but they're a lot more inconsequential than people believe. What that means is that most of the textual variants don't affect the text at all, and you can see that from here. And what this means is it has all these different abbreviations for different Bible translations. You can see ESV, Home Christian Standard, Murdoch, New American Bible, New English Translation, NIV, and etc. What that is that it has the 20 most commonly used English translations. And if it agrees with the Alexandrian text, it's not listed. But if it follows any other textual variant, it'll list the translation that follows that variant. So if you want to look up a verse and you want to see which textual variant your particular translation follows, you can see it right in here. So let's just use an example. Here, Acts 10:39. We are the text. This is the Nestle Aland. We are witnesses of all that he did, both in the country of the Jews and in Jerusalem, whom they also put to death by hanging him on a tree. All right. The Alexandrian and Byzantine both have in Jerusalem. Minority amount of text have removed the word in, but as you can see, there's no translations listed after it, meaning no translations follow that textual variant. Both the Alexandrian and the Byzantine text has whom also. There's a minority amount of texts that omit also. And the Douay Rheims, the ESV, the Home Christian Standard, the Jewish New Testament, King James Version, Murdoch, New American Bible, New English Translation, NIV, New King James, and all the rest of these, they follow that textual variant. So this will list all the textual variants, like I said, and it'll tell you which textual variant the 20 most common in English translations follow. That's half of the book. The other half of the book is what's called the Cross Reference Index. And this is, you can look up any verse in the New Testament, and it'll tell you resources in ancient literature where you can study similar themes. Like, say for here, Luke 16:17. Parallel passage would be Matthew 5:18, Clement of Alexandria, Tertullian, and it lists the book in the section where you can read Tertullian's thoughts on that passage of Scripture. So this is a really useful tool if you want to look up a specific verse in the New Testament and you want to see other ancient literature that talks about the same thing. So the translation itself is nothing spectacular. I mean, it's decent. I don't really have any complaints about it, but it's not really known for its translation, but the footnotes. So these are 5 that I recommend in addition to the Bibles you already have. I'm not saying that if you have these 5 Bibles that these are the only 5 ones that you should have, or that these are the 5 best, but these are 5 that would help your studies in addition to the ones you already have.
Alright, all of these are available on Amazon except for the Apostolic Bible Polyglot. That one is a special link that I will put in the description section of this video. Well, we hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to log on to Facebook and like the Reader Learner, as well as particularly Baptist. We'll plan on having a lot more content. Daniel and I are planning on doing some Google Hangouts and stuff. He came to visit me all the way from Wisconsin, except he doesn't say Wisconsin.
No, I pronounce words correctly, and I'm somewhat impressed with Justin's ability to do that too. I haven't heard too much of a southern accent yet.
So we're breaking down barriers over here, eliminating stereotypes. Alright, well thanks for watching again. Y'all have a good night.